Okay, got a problem with the furnace. Blower motor is not starting up. So let's look inside the furnace here. I already got some of the covers off. There's the blower motor and the assembly right there. If I put my hand in here and turn it, I can feel that the blades are very hard to move. This should spin freely. It's stuck up. So let me hit the switch now and turn this on, and you can see the problem. See, the motor's not turning. Just won't turn the fan blade. Turn it off. Try it again. The motor will just barely turn the fan blade. So, got to pull the blower motor out. Bottom half of the furnace. Got to tear inside the motor. Be back in a minute. So we got to remove this cover right here. This accesses the blower motor. But before we can remove the blower assembly, which is mounted up there and up there, we need to pull this control box out. It's in the way. This is the blower motor back there. This control box has got to come out first. Lots of wires, lots of stuff in there. Pull that out now.
First, wait.
Okay, so we got the control box out. It's just held in by two screws up here, right there, back there. Pulled the cables out. There's a little bushing that protects the cables in the metal slot there. Goes around the cable. Protects that. So we got the control box out, but then there's a drain system in here too. This takes all the condensation from the furnace and the combustion and drains it out. So this assembly right here has got to come out. Looks like it just snaps in. We'll have this out in a second. Okay, we got the water thing out. Still dripping a little. That's okay. It kind of wedges up in there, goes in the slot. You got to wedge it in there just right, kind of snaps into position. So I had to remove some pipes here, make room here. Anyway, we got that out of the way. We got everything out of the way. Control box is loose. There's the blower assembly. And there's the mounting screws up in there on both sides. So we're going to pull those screws out and drop this blower assembly down. Okay, so we got the blower assembly out. Slides right out of there's the box it used to be in. It's got these flanges right here that slide right into some grooves. So we pulled that box out. Here we got the fan. The motor is inside the squirrel cage. Here's the blower. This should spin freely, and it doesn't. It's very gummed up. So it's most likely the bearings. We're going to pull that motor out on the other side, loosen this shaft, the motor will slide right out, and then we're going to disassemble the motor. Yep. Okay, so we got the motor out. It turns very hard, so that's definitely the problem. Something is wrong with the motor, but I don't have to take the motor apart yet. There's a dust cap on the end. This dust cap exposes the bushing in the shaft, and this material right here is packing which holds oil, which keeps this shaft lubricated at all times. Now, this is not the driving end, so this, when I put oil on here, this didn't do anything. This is the weighted end. And so we're going to try and pop that cap off and see if we can't get inside there to relube that. To do that, I'm going to use a paint can opener because it's got a nice little lip on it right there. And I'm going to see if I can just pry this cap up. And it's not really moving, so I'm going to increase the leverage a little bit. Oh, it's moving now. Let's work our way around. Pop this cap off and see what's in there. Okay, that was easy. Okay, we got a little bit of splatter and burning in there. That looks like it's a piece of rubber from the rubber seal. It's on, oh, I can see the seal is broken. This rubber seal is torn. And it has shredded. If you can see in the bushing here, that rubber material has flaked off and worked its way in between the shaft and the bushing. Now, there's still oil on the packing, but it's old oil, it's sticky, it's not lubricating. This oil is 17 years old, 18 years old. That's when this furnace, this is the original motor on the original furnace. So for 18 years, this thing has been spinning 24/7. When the rubber failed, it sucked itself inside the shaft and the bushing. We might have to take this motor apart, but I'm going to do my best to clean this out, get some solvent in there, and see if I can't clean that shaft without pulling the caps off the motor, because then we got to realign the whole motor. Be back in a minute. So once again, we've got a case of, this is crap design in my opinion. This is a rubber seal. It's meant to keep dust and debris out of the bearing area. That's all fine. But rubber and plastics are made of petroleum-based stuff. This cap is meant to sit on top of this oil-impregnated screen here, or packing material. Well, that's oil impregnated. This is made of oil. In 17 years, this oil ate through and dissolved this plastic piece. So I don't know what engineer thought it would be a good idea to use this rubber in constant contact with oil when they should have used silicone, Teflon, nylon, Vitron, Delrin. There's 100 materials that could have served this purpose and not failed the way this did. I will just point out that this is a General Electric motor. Okay, it was so gummed up in there, we got to pull the motor apart. So we got to pull these end caps off. There's 3 screws holding on this end cap. They're very long screws. They go through the entire case of the motor, and they clamp down both halves of the motor end caps. It's done in a sandwich like that to keep this shaft centered within the wire windings of the motor. Okay, before I remove the caps here, I'm going to put a little scratch in here. So that I can line the cap back up with the frame. And I'm going to do that on both sides here. Now, this cap should wiggle off of here. Sometimes you need a little encouragement. Remember, this is the side that's gummed up, so it's possible that this is actually glued on there. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, there was a 4th screw back here that I didn't see. It was attached to the ground strap wire, so there's actually 4 screws. Once I got that screw off, the plate came off very easily. You can pull this armature straight out. There's the armature, and that's where it's seized up. And there you can see the chewed up. Oh, brilliant, General Electric. You put another plastic rubber bearing down there. I wish you'd use better materials. I would have definitely paid an extra 50 cents for a better washer on this $8,000 furnace. Okay, so here's the armature. Both ends of the bearing. If we put the armature in this bearing, we can see that that bearing spins freely. This cap isn't the problem. The problem is the other one and this shaft, where that plastic bushing has melted itself in between. And now we can see that this doesn't turn at all. It should spin freely. Similar to that, but it's all gummed up, so we're going to clean that up.